What is up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here another Inteleon deck. However, this time it's not a V deck, it is just a regular stage 2 Inteleon deck. And yes, this does come from the exact same league deck as the Inteleon V deck. So it was definitely quite nice to see that I was actually able to just use these directly from the deck itself. However, with that being said, this one does not merge together with the Inteleon V. However, I might try out a build where I actually mix in the two, though it doesn't seem as synergetic to me, because I did do some prior testing to just the league deck alone, and I just found that it didn't really work out. Maybe I just need some modifications to change the deck up a bit, but even so, I just didn't like it at first where they combined together, so I pretty much just decided that I would split them apart and make their own individual builds. Inteleon V having their own build, and then Inteleon Stage 2 having its own individual build as well. However, with that being said, both decks do share certain similarities in terms of what cards they actually synergize with, but it's better off actually showcasing that to you guys when we get to those cards. Otherwise, let me remind you guys to consider dropping a like, share, comment and subscribe if you still haven't, it really does help. And also hit that bell notification. However, with that being said, let's just begin. Alright, so starting off, you guys might be a bit curious to know what the ratios are for this particular deck. I'm just choosing to play 2 of each. You could bump it up a bit more and play 3 of each, that might be okay, but even so, I decided to just play this particular line here. It's definitely something that you could change up the ratios on. I mean, if you really wanted to max it out, then go ahead and play 4, but I don't think it's actually necessary, because if you're playing both Inteleon and Drizzle, you're already getting 4 plays of the Shady Dealings, which is already quite amazing, not to mention the potential of actually returning cards back into your deck, which can actually allow you to just recycle these again, which is definitely nice of course. And given that Drizzle also has Shady Dealings, we definitely want to play 2 copies of them without any rare candies. The thing is this, if you evolve into your Drizzle, it doesn't matter because you still get your Shady Dealings, and that's the key thing we want with this deck, is being able to search out our item cards, which is just going to benefit us a lot. And you guys are going to get it once we actually get to the item cards themselves, because they are actually pretty insane. But of course, with that being said, Inteleon himself does also have Aqua Bullet, which is definitely nice. It is similar to Max Bullet from Inteleon V by having similar attacks, so I could see why people would want to combine it with the V version of it, but I just personally don't see it. I think playing them on their own can still actually work out, but I will give an attempt again to rebuild that particular build and see what happens. Otherwise, Aqua Bullet is an amazing ability or attack that you could actually just execute and slowly just hit your opponent's Pokemon until you're ready for the full knockouts. Next up, we're playing here the same amount of supporting Pokemon, or rather our secondary attacker, and that would be the Lapras V. Now in this case, it's like playing 4 Lapras V, except I didn't want to play 4 copies of Lapras V, just because I figure if you have Ditto Vs, you could actually just swap it anyway, and that would still work out. Plus the Ditto Vs could potentially use itself to go into your other cards as well if you actually wanted to. But regardless, Ditto Vs pretty much just serve as a secondary copy of the actual V card that you're maining. So in this case, it pretty much just acts as a Lapras V. If you want to play 4, then go ahead. But given that we're still playing Frostmoth, I think as a secondary attacker, Lapras V is a really amazing card. Since I already mentioned it, I might as well actually talk about this. The Frostmoth's only 2 copies, that's really enough for your deck itself, because you don't want to just clog up your actual bench anyway. So with that being said, this is a really nice number to go with. You could potentially bump it up to 3 copies, but again, that's depending on whether or not you're willing to sacrifice the other amounts of cards down to actually fix it. However, this deck is flexible enough that you could play around with the ratios. Next up, we're playing just the 1 Crobat V and the 1 Galarian Zigzagoon. They're both really nice, but unlike the previous build, this one you only really need 1 of each, just because they're quite searchable, and we're also playing some cards that could potentially just recycle these as well so that we could reuse them. Alright, so onto searches. You guys shouldn't be surprised that we're playing here Quick Balls and Level Balls. 4 level balls is definitely very appropriate because even your Drizzle is a 90 HP or less Pokemon, definitely amazing. Frostmoth, Zigzagoons, all just really amazing, making level ball quite viable at 4 copies. Of course, we're playing here the Evolution Incense. We don't have too many of the Evolution Pokemon to play any more than that. I think 2 Evolution Incense does the job. 2 Capacious Buckets, also really amazing. And keep in mind, with Shady Dealings, you can just add these cards and then you could then further add more cards. I mean, it's crazy, but this particular deck just drains out incredibly well. Next up, I'm playing a few cards to manipulate the board. In this case, Scoop Up Nets work really well with the Zigzagoons. Air Balloon allows me to switch out whatever we want, whenever we actually need to. And keep in mind the interesting thing, it stays on the Pokemon, so it's pretty much eternal in the game. And the only thing to really worry about is if your opponent happens to play a Tool Scrapper, but I don't think that's really a big issue here. For some utility cards, I thought 4 Fan of Waves definitely work out well. There's plenty of special energies out there. It's just becoming a little bit more prevalent with the Rapid Strikes and Single Strike decks. So because of that, Fan of Waves is absolutely amazing for this deck. Aside from that, Tool Scrapper works the other way around. When your opponent's playing enough tools, you pretty much want to get rid of them. And of course with Ordinary Rod, allowing me to pretty much just recycle our Pokemon and our energy again to go for more searching and pretty much just building up our energy onto our strongest Pokemon. When it comes to supporters, I'm going to be playing here 2 copies of Bruno. I like to play Bruno in single strike Pokemon decks, and in this particular case we're playing Inteleon. It's going to be knocked out quite easily because it lacks in the HP, but that's just normal when it comes to single prizer decks. But that just means that you can benefit off that, take a disadvantage and then change it into an advantage for your actual plays, for your actual deck itself. And for that, I'm playing 2 copies of Bruno because I believe it will definitely help out. Boss's Orders, pretty self-explanatory. Next up, we're playing Nessa. Again, we're just going to recycle our cards to be able to use once more. Absolutely amazing. Marnie allows us to replay our hands again and also even disrupt your opponent, which is definitely an extra bonus here. However, I believe 2 copies of each suffices more than that. 4 copies of Research, need I say more? Not really. It's a really good card, and ultimately it's just something that will always be at 4 copies majority of the time. 8 copies of Water Energy, just the basic ones will actually do because you want to maximize Frostmoth's potential. As a result, 4 copies of this is definitely great. You can recycle them as well, so there's no need for any more. And of course, with Nessa, bringing it back to your hand as well, making it really quick, you're just building up so much energy onto your Lapras V. However, that was pretty much it for today's deck profile, so I do hope you guys actually enjoyed this. Definitely let me know your thoughts and tell me, do you guys actually want to see a mixed build between the Inteleon V and the Stage 2 Inteleons? I know they both came in the same league deck, but when I was testing it out, it just didn't work out, but maybe you guys could change my mind on that. Otherwise, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a sensational day. I'll see you all next time.